And welcome to Face for the Newsfirst team. I'm Niresh Eliathambi. The English writer Evelyn Beatrice Hall, in her biography of Voltaire, said, and I quote, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." My guest tonight is a lady who quite unwittingly was thrown into the midst of this great battle over freedom of expression. I'm speaking of Nathasha Edirisooriya, a stand-up comedian who became unwittingly famous when she was incarcerated over a freedom of expression issue. Good evening and welcome, Nathasha.
Good evening, Niresh.
Right, so Nathasha, this is the second time you have come on this program. The first time was, I think, about a year and a half ago, when the state quite strangely dropped all the charges against you after putting you through what was definitely a terrible ordeal. Just a week ago, we had perhaps the climax of this entire saga when your fundamental rights case was settled in a manner which hopefully has some lasting impact on society as a whole. But as part of that settlement, the arresting officer in charge of the CID's Computer Crimes and Investigation Division, a sub-inspector of police, he issued this letter of apology in the Supreme Court itself, and I will read this very short letter. Miss Edirisooriya, as the arresting officer, considering the totality of circumstances, I wish to express deep regret to you for the arrest on 27th May 2023 and your incarceration in remand custody till 5th July 2023, consequent thereto. I also extend my deep regret regarding the damage that may have been caused to your reputation and dignity and mental and emotional trauma caused by her arrest and incarceration. So a very, perhaps a strange letter of apology, but a very definitive one indeed. It is not often that the state and officials of the state apologize for what they have done. But this apology is not the end of it all, because the settlement involved something else which has a much greater impact on society, and that is actually something that I will ask Nathasha to explain. So Nathasha, could you explain what that greater part of the settlement was?
Yes, so I came to a settlement at the Supreme Court. I asked for an apology, which I got. And also I wanted to reform the existing guidelines for ICCPR, and the IGP has agreed to the guidelines that we proposed, and my legal counsel has been working with the Aegis department with writing these new guidelines, and it will come up, everything will finalized maybe in 4 weeks.
So these guidelines will be issued to the entire police department, all
yes.
police stations and so on. And it is regarding the use of this act called the ICCPR Act, which has been misused and abused by successive regimes and many police officials for years now, and human rights activists have been criticizing the use of the ICCPR Act, which was interestingly, an act that was brought about to protect individuals and communities, especially minorities and religions and so on. It was not meant to be used to persecute people, but in Sri Lanka it has all too often been used in the negative manner. And now with Nathasha's case, the IGP will be issuing guidelines on the proper use of the ICCPR Act.
Yes. So it will have the necessary thresholds, and individual need to suffice in order for them to get arrested under ICCPR, and few other guidelines as well. Because this is a legal matter, I think it's better to talk about it after the guidelines are issued and public.
I'm sure that the guidelines will be quite comprehensive, and it is to the betterment of society, because this act was used in the worst possible manner for many years. The ICCPR stands for the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So it's the rights of people, the rights of individuals in society. And this act is supposed to protect those rights. So let me ask a question which I'm sure many people have asked you. You did not in the end seek any compensation. So from this entire ordeal, you're not getting any monetary compensation. Instead, you have sought to reform, to bring about some reforms in the way in which the authorities deal with this type of thing. So would you like to comment on the fact that you didn't ask for monetary compensation?
Yes, because that is also yes a question that I do get asked a lot. So after the Human Rights Commission recommendation came in 2024 September, we went to the Supreme Court to file my fundamental rights petition. And I wanted to understand what is a win for me, as well as I looked at the similar cases that have gone to the Supreme Courts and have won. And most of those cases, the individuals have gotten a monetary compensation, and also Supreme Court has issued a judiciary statement saying that their fundamental rights were violated, and sometimes has issued a circular ordering that these guidelines should be reformed. But that had stopped there. So according to, like, why I didn't go for monetary compensation is I don't see any amount of money would compensate what myself, my family, and my loved ones endured. So there was no amount that I could ask for. And the other reason is, so this is a systemic issue. The system has holes that allows individuals to get unlawfully arrested. And if I ask monetary compensation for that, I felt like I am again perpetuating the same cycle, and I wanted to break out of it, and I didn't want to also benefit from a broken system. And the other reason was that money would come from taxpayers' money. And I think this is something public has to understand as well. When someone goes to prison, that is funded by the taxpayers' money. So when someone is unlawfully goes to prison and they are compensated, that money comes from taxpayers' money as well. So that is also something I didn't want on my conscience, because we are anyway in a financial crisis, and I do see how hard people are working and how hard the living conditions are. But I think the main reason was that I wanted to make sure that what I went through, the next person would not have to go through what I went through. And I felt like this is the thing that I could do that have the highest ROI, and I opted for that.
Excellent sentiments indeed. Now you mentioned the impact that it had on your family, your circle of loved ones, your friends, and so on. Tell us a bit more about this, because yes, you were the one who went through the most trauma, but I can only imagine what your family went through at this point, because you are not a professional human rights activist or a journalist or a lawyer. You are a stand-up comedian, and you were arrested for a joke. And not that being a journalist or a lawyer and getting arrested is easy, but at least it's something which happens once in a way. But I think this was the first time that a comedian was arrested like this under the ICCPR Act for certain. So what impact did it have on your family, and tell us about the manner in which they supported you?
They absolutely, they are my partner, my family. I have 3 older sisters, and I think I remember, so they all have children, and I remember one of my sisters said, like, within those 39 days, they did not think about their own children. Only thing that were in their head was me. So I don't think I can even begin to comprehend what they went through, and my parents as well. But my sisters are the one, and my brother-in-laws are the ones who like kind of had to do the due diligence and like make decisions. I remember I tried to, because I have I'm in a committed relationship and I have a very loving partner, and so I wanted to give his name as the legal guardian, but we are not married. So I think it was kind of also again kind of an abuse to like, no, we would use your father's name. We want your father's address or mother's address, and my mom was not in Sri Lanka at that point. So with all that, like at the end of the day, like my family is the one that had to make decisions on behalf of me, and 2 of them are not in the country. There's only one living here. So yes, they were, and one of my sisters had like, because her child did not have a passport at that point, so she had to apply for a passport for him, if just in case she had to come back to Sri Lanka and like deal with everything. And I think to this day, they are terrified for me and very terrified for my safety. But nonetheless, like the love I felt I don't even have words to describe, but I think that is also one of the other things that happens, the chilling effect that happens to artists or activists or like people who want to express, but also then I think I understood deeply how my actions affect them. And I did not tell them that I'm doing this interview. There are certain things I have to do because of what happened, and I have to take this further. But also they are terrified of my safety. So there is like, both myself and my partner, we are waiting to have this conversation. Okay, whether I like it or not, I have put into the public eye, and sometimes only way out is also true. So I can't just disappear as well. So it's just, but I know they are scared, and
let's talk about that a little bit, because one of the sad issues in today's society is that everyone or many people try to serve as judge, jury, and executioner, and especially on social media, and even some media houses, they make up their mind on what happened and what the crime, the alleged crime was, and whether a person is guilty, and they basically decide the punishment as well. Whereas professional journalists don't do that. We report, and we keep our biases out of it. So tell me, what's your opinion on that, on media and social media and the way you were treated?
Of course, there were some media outlets that outright lied on national news when they were reporting about my case. I remember when I was in prison, someone would, prisoners, because in prison there are TVs, but there weren't any TVs in my wing, but I would meet prisoners from other wings who have watched TV, and like they would ask questions, are you an actress, or like things about me that is so not true. So I had to kind of fact check and like correct them as well. At one point I was like, okay, you can just believe whatever you want. But these were things that they got to know through news. So of course, media, certain media outlets, and also same media outlet had, on national news, had aired an edited clip of my performance. So the entire performance is 14 minutes. So this specific clip is 1.5 minutes, and it was edited, and it is made to look like that I am saying some things that are vile, or which is not true at all. So those were the things that went into public, and I think it is a civic responsibility as well, asking for the accountability from those media outlets, because at the end of the day, it was the general public that was misdirected by these media outlets. So it's their time, their focus that have been misdirected. So I think a wider conversation needs to happen. I think, I don't know, there are media ethics and boards, I don't know, are there anything? But also from the general public, I think they need to ask for the accountability for things like this, because they have been misdirected.
Well, it's a matter of professionalism. There is a reason that Newsfirst had for many years its motto, "We report, you decide," not "We report and we decide." So it is up to us to report the facts without bias, and it is up to the public then to make up their own minds, but not up to the public to serve as judge and jury. That's what we have courts for. Right. But you did have some support from even total strangers who stood up for you in some way.
Yes. Yes. I mean, sometimes I actually feel like I have been put in a very strange but blessed place where I got to see the world in a very different light. I got to experience the best of people and also the worst of people. It's a very juxtaposing place to be, juxtaposing experience actually. I remember just after I came out of prison, sometimes there were moments that I would not go out by myself. So there were friends that swarming in to escort me to places. And the strangers actually, especially women, when they see me, when they recognize me in public, would come up to me and just say, "I'm so happy that you are smiling. Are you okay? I can't wait to see you where you are going next." And it's this crazy place to be. And I think sometimes it would have been easier if it was just hate. Then you can make up your mind and go John Wick on everything, because people are bad. But that was so not the case for me. As much as hate was there, created hate was there on social media, but my immediate circle and the people that I met are absolutely lovely and loving. And this is something I keep telling people as well, as someone who went through this excruciating ordeal. But I keep telling people, like, there's so much love that Sri Lankan people are capable of, and there's so much out there, and like I am in awe of this. And I, again, like I said, I actually feel like it is almost a privilege to experience this, because when I came out of prison, I came into this love bubble that was so strong. I didn't feel any of the hate, and it came from people I know and people I didn't know, people I had never met. And I remember, so like I went to Galle at one point, and there was this couple, and the girl, probably around my age, came up to me and she was like, I just want to let you know that you didn't do anything wrong. And I was so tired I couldn't respond to her, and I was like, thank you, but if you are seeing this, thank you very much. I don't even remember your name. So this was just one incident, but like there are multiple people, strangers, that come and just stand with me in solidarity, and it's again an amazing place to be.
A humbling experience indeed when you have so much support. We need to take a short commercial break. I am with Nathasha Edirisooriya, stand-up comedian, and we'll be discussing her experiences and what she's been doing over the past year and a half or so. Don't go away, we'll be right back after this.
Your afternoon starts with ABC on TV1. World news, sports news, documentary. Stay informed, stay ahead. Every weekday, 12:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. ABC Afternoon, only on TV1.
හරි මං අත්සන් කරන්න. හැබැයි උඹ මට කියපන් අයියේ උඹ ඇත්තටම කාත් එකද ඔය හෝටලෙට ගියේ කියලා.
මගේ ගර්ල්ෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ් එක විශ්වයෙම ආවට ගියාට වැඩ කරන මිනිහෙක් නෙවෙයි. ඌට මොනව වෙන්නද?
එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැත්තම් හොඳයි දෙයියනේ.
නෑ කලබල වෙන්න එපා. ඕනම දෙයක් කරද්දී ක්‍රමයක් රටාවක් පිළිවෙලක් තියෙනවා. අපි සම්පූර්ණ සාක්ෂිත් එක්ක වෙරේට බහිමු.
කොටෝ අද රාත්‍රී 9:30ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
අයිකන්ස් තියෙනවා එකක් ඒවා. ඒක ඩිටෙක්ට් කරාම එයා ඒක හොඳට මොනිටර් වෙන්න ඒ පැත්තේ LED ඉස්සෙල්ලා තීව්‍රතාවය වැඩි කරනවා.
වෙනස්ම විදිහේ ඩිජිටල් විප්ලවයක් කරන්න ලෑස්ති වෙන ලංකාවේ පළවෙනි වතාවට.
මේ ගෙනල්ලා තියෙන 1951 වාර්ෂික සඳහා නිෂ්පාදිත මෝටර් රථයක්.
අවුරුද්ද ලබනකොට අනතුරු ඉතාමත් අවමයි.
මුලින්ම ආවේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ලක්ෂ 25ට තියලා ආපු කාර් තමයි.
Auto Vision, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. on TV1.
සදෙව් අයියා ගොඩක් සීතලෙන් ඉන්නේ. සීතලෙන් ගැහෙනවා.
ඉන්න තැනක් දන්නවනම් කියාපන් ජෝඩියෝ.
ඔය දින උඩ වාද කරන්න දුන්නේ මම මේ try කරන්නේ කොහොම හරි මේකට පොටක් පාද ගන්න ඇත්තටම සදේ හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා බලන්න. අපිට වැඩි දවසක් බලන් ඉන්න බෑ සිස්.
ඔයාටයි තේරෙන්නේ නැත. මෙන්න මෙහාට වෙලා ඉන්න තේමිය එරික් ගිහිල්ලා පොලිසියට කට උත්තරයක් දෙන්න. සහස් සදෙව්ව හංගගෙන ඉන්නවා කියලා.
අද රාත්‍රී 9ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
Welcome back to Face to Face. I am with Nathasha Edirisooriya, stand-up comedian. Now, Nathasha, we were talking about the manner in which different people reacted to you and treated you, and you spoke about media houses, some being biased, others reporting factually, and also about the manner in which complete strangers stood by you, stood up for you. But there were those who were more narrow-minded. And what do you have to say about those people?
I think most of the hate came from the social media, but I think the way I see Sri Lankan social media landscape, it has like 2 weeks news cycle. So like 2 weeks, every 2 weeks there is something to be divisive and to scream at each other. And this is something that I have been trying to understand. And the way I see it, I feel like as a country, we have not actually properly reconciled with our past, the wounds that we went through because of the war, and then the financial crisis, and even before that, we've been colonized 3 times at least. So with all that, we still carry those wounds that we have not reconciled. And at this point, we are facing a mass migration issue. People who are in the country, they are looking for ways to get out of the country, and people who have left, they long for the country. And I think because of all of these things, there's a lot of hopelessness, grief and frustration that we all carry.
It's a lot of baggage that
yes,
people are carrying.
Yes, and social media has become something that people can redirect their anger and get a cathartic release. And I see that's what kind of drive these people to behave in a certain way on social media. And there's no critical thinking. It's just emotional release, whenever they see something, they don't look for the facts. It's just share things and just spew whatever that comes into their head. And I think as a society, I think we just have to look at ourselves and deeply work on ourselves. Other than that, I don't think I take it personally. But yes,
right.
But it's
and it's an unfortunate fact that in many societies, the artists are the ones who first bear the brunt of social criticism, and especially when it comes to governments, police, and so on. And of course, in Sri Lanka, we have a long history of this. We have had attacks on actors, actresses, musicians, poets. They've been arrested, or we all remember Richard de Souza, who was murdered in 1990. He was a journalist, but it is believed that he was murdered simply because he wrote a play which reflected the times, the scenario in society. So unfortunately, yes, artists have been targeted, although I can't remember a comedian being targeted as you have, and especially not with the ICCPR Act. Right. So tell us about what you've been doing since your release, which was about 1.5 years ago. You went overseas for some time, but you've been back for, I think, more than 6 months now.
No, I came back recently.
Right.
Yes, so yeah, I did my master's, which was an amazing experience, and I got a distinction as well. And so I did a master's in storytelling, where I got to learn everything that is about stories. And it's not about stories as in movies or storybooks. It's about stories that weaves through in our society and kind of governs and shapes us as humans and societies and communities.
And this was a UK university?
Yes, Loughborough University.
Loughborough.
Yes. So 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 my professor is actually the UNESCO Storytelling Chair at the moment, and so I was very privileged to be able to work with him. So, and also my dissertation was also about looking at how seminal stories have shaped the contemporary society in Sri Lanka and how it influences the behaviors and the ways we act even today, and whether there are ways to kind of renegotiate with these existing narratives in order to go forward.
Right. Now, one of the interesting things which happened to you when you were overseas was that you gained some recognition as a person who had unwittingly been thrown into this freedom of expression battle, and you were invited, I think, to speak at some very important forums.
Yes, I was invited to speak at the Global Free Speech Summit in USA. Like you said, freedom of expression was not something that I bothered myself with before the arrest. And so this is very confusing as well, because I wouldn't say I'm a free speech absolutist. So I'm still trying to figure out where I stand in this whole spectrum of freedom of expression. But I think one thing I know for sure is that freedom of expression cannot just exist within the rights front. It has to be a holistic movement or holistic discourse, because the way we express it all comes anyway from how much emotionally regulated we are. And so I think it's very important that we all take some time and work on ourselves, and because otherwise it just would be noise and just people talking to themselves, like screaming at each other. And also I think in a way this is something I talk about in my speech as well. The current social media landscape is built to profit off of this hate and divisiveness. So, and then sometimes when we talk about freedom of expression within those digital landscapes, maybe it is not exactly what we meant or what we mean, because there are underlying algorithms that are at play as well. So I think it's not this black and white thing. I think it's very multi-layered, multifaceted discourse, a very important discourse, as I have learned within last few years. So.
Right, and of course the Free Speech Summit was a very important one. I think it was hosted by Vanderbilt University, a very famous university in the United States.
And also the think tank that organized the event. It is an independent think tank. It is not funded by anything. It is an independent think tank.
Excellent. And of course, as you repeatedly said, you are not one of those free speech activists. It's just something you got thrown into. And to be invited to speak at these summits would have been quite inspiring, perhaps.
Yes, inspiring, and also I think that is something I talk about in the speech as well, that sometimes it's confusing. I made a joke and suddenly I was thrown in the jail, and then whole it was the other people who were around me who made noise and kind of made sure that I came out, and suddenly I became the poster girl for freedom of expression. And then what does that mean to me? Because I don't want to get dragged into someone else's discourse without me understanding what does it mean for me. So that I think past year and a half also has been for me understanding and unpacking what happened in multiple layers, the arrest, and what does it mean to me as a person, and how do I take those learnings with me going forward, and also then the freedom of expression discourse that I was thrown into, and where do I stand, and what does it mean to me and to my artwork, and how do I kind of keep the artistic integrity instead of making it a political or legal defense or political conversation, because
that's not what you're in. You're not in politics. You're not a lawyer. You're not any of those things.
Yes. So I'm someone who makes silly jokes, and I would like to keep doing that and keep that artistic integrity instead of inserting. Of course, with the culture that I grew up, this is a very politically charged country, so that this is where I grew up. So of course my comedy would be informed by that political chaos that I grew up in. So it wouldn't be, I don't think I would ever go on a stage and make jokes about my cats or dogs, because that's not.
But in many ways, in many countries, politics is comedy, whether you're talking about what's happening in the United States, what's happening in the UK, or often in Sri Lanka. So comedians are supposed to make fun of a lot of things. But let's talk about that profession which you're in. You are a comedian, and that is a profession. Not everyone can do it. I certainly can't crack a joke if my life depended on it. But in Sri Lanka, this area, this sector has not developed enough, don't you think? Perhaps it's because we've been at war and we've had so much trauma, but comedy hasn't developed to that point as it has in some countries.
I will track back as well, because I don't think I am the comedian I want to be. I think I'm 1,000 steps behind. I have long way to go, and I want to give myself that chance to see whether I actually am a good comedian or not in the future, because I just started and this happened, and in a way I feel like I have gotten more publicity than I would have otherwise. And I did not have the time to actually do comedy as much as I would like to have. Said that, I just felt like I should say that.
Well,
yes.
It's early days in your career.
Yes, and I truly believe that I am like 1,000 and 10,000 steps behind from the comedian that I want to become. And also about, yes, in Sri Lanka's comedy industry is still establishing. In other countries, they do have very mature, commercially mature comedy scene, and also the infrastructure also is very well established. They do have comedy festivals, clubs, and comedy circuits where comedians can experiment and find their niche, whereas Sri Lanka does not have that.
And in many other countries, comedy is big business, isn't it? The best comedians in the world are millionaires. So it is a proper industry which unfortunately hasn't developed enough.
Yes, in Sri Lanka, but I do think it is evolving. And also, and even in West, like I think in 1950s, 60s, there were incidents that comedians have gotten arrested. So it has not been a smooth ride. It is a smooth ride now, but I feel like at this point, even in Western countries, people are somewhat sensitive, and that is why the cancel culture exists as well, and some comedians have been cancelled as well. Whereas I also feel like in Sri Lanka, we do have a history of laughing at ourselves, so laughing at, poking fun of people through kolam, Arachi kolama, and like, so that's actually, I think police kolama as well, that's actually making fun of authority, and also there are other columns that makes fun of illnesses as well, which would not translate very well into the contemporary politically correct discourses. But inherently, I do think we do have our own sense of humor as well in Sri Lanka. It's just a matter of figuring out where or how we can evolve it, and finding or like figuring out our own flavor of comedy. I think India has done a great job with it. They have amazing comedians and a really good comedy circuit in Hindi. So I think we are also in the right path.
Right, and comedy is not something which is limited to English. It is very much in one's own languages. So, as you said, the Hindi comedy scene is quite massive, and even in Sri Lanka, in Sinhala and Tamil, you do get a certain level of comedy.
Yes, we do, and I think it is evolving and it is spreading. There are comedy shows happening. Yes, I think I'm very hopeful and very excited to see what Sri Lankan comedy landscape is going to be.
Do we in Sri Lanka, in your opinion, do we lack the ability to laugh at ourselves? Are we taking ourselves too seriously?
I think, again, it's what I said before. It's just that we are hurt so much as a society. Sometimes it's just...
We're very sensitive.
It has translate into being sensitive, but I don't think because look at the memes Sri Lankans come up with, and it is, I think Sri Lankans are very funny, and it also comes as a coping mechanisms, I would say. But maybe I sometimes feel like maybe are we good at laughing at others, but we are not very good at laughing at ourselves. But I'm not sure. But I do think we do have a very rich underground comedies, kind of like a humor, sense of humor, underground sense of humor. Certain urban legends that we have in Sri Lanka are very funny. And also, like I said, memes, and also the way we make light of very serious issues. And also, I think Sri Lankans need it as well because of the things that we go through. We had, like recently we had Cyclone Ditwa just after we kind of got out of the economic crisis. With all that, Sri Lankans keep going, and I do think part of that is that using humor as a coping mechanism. So that is I do think we do have a very rich humorous ways of coping, but then the matter is like developing, like, because stand-up comedy is not from Sri Lanka. It's something that came from West. So it's about fusing these two mediums, or like two very different things together and figuring out what it is.
But I think, if I may add, one of the things that is quite accepted in Sri Lankan society is to laugh at our politicians. I think it's no holds barred when it comes to our politicians. Everybody's laughing at everyone. So there are certain aspects of comedy which is quite open, and then there are certain aspects of society which people are not used to comedy.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
Right. So can we expect a lot more professional comedy from you now that you're done with the cases, you're done with what you were arrested for, and then you had the Human Rights Council, which came out with a very strong letter on your behalf, and then of course your fundamental rights application, which has now been settled. And in a few weeks, the police department will put this to rest with a new set of guidelines on the ICCPR Act, and then perhaps you can go back to your chosen career, which is comedy.
Yes. Yes, I mean, I did 2 shows even before the case got dismissed. Yes, and I've been doing comedy in smaller ways, but yeah, that is something I want to, like I said, I want to see where it takes me, and like I want to give myself the opportunity to see where it takes me.
Lovely. And I'm afraid we are out of time. Thank you very much for appearing on our program once again, and all the very best to you in your future endeavors, your career, and to all of you at home or wherever you are who've been watching this, thank you very much for watching. Don't go away, because the news is coming up next. Have a great evening.
සදෙව් අයියා ගොඩක් සීතලෙන් ඉන්නේ. සීතලෙන් ගැහෙනවා.
ඉන්න තැනක් දන්නවනම් කියාපන් චූටියෝ.
දැන් ඔය දින උඩ වාද කරන්න ඕනේ. මම මේ try කරන්නේ කොහොම හරි මේකට පොටක් පාද ගන්න. ඇත්තටම සදෙව් හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා බලන්න. අපිට වැඩි දවසක් බලන් ඉන්න බෑ සිස්.
ඔයාටයි තේරෙන්නේ නැත. මෙන්න මෙහාට වෙලා ඉන්න තේමිය එරික් ගිහිලා පොලිසියට කට උත්තරයක් දෙන්න. සහස් සදෙව්ව හංගගෙන ඉන්නවා කියලා.
අද රාත්‍රී 9ට
සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්
මාරුතේ සැඩ මාරුතේ හදවිල් ජලේ කලබා විසිරුනේ පෙතින් විසිරුනේ මා ආදරෙන් මිදිලා ආරම්භයක් අවසානයක් නැති සසර පෙමෙන් වෙලිලා රැගෙන යන මගේ ආදරේ ගියමුත් මා හැරදා දසගනුරාවේ